All right. So we're at a place called the Windermere Basin. This is the environmental enhancements. Significant features of Windermere Basin. Construction of a public accessible viewing area on the east side of Red Hill Creek to provide opportunities for bird and nature walkage. Restore fishing habitat. Interesting. So people scratched out a bunch of the stuff and you can tell it's a bit older. But let's see if it looks like anything. Today we were at Windermere Basin. I wanted to try to challenge myself ever so slightly. So we were in not as photogenic of a location. I'll turn the camera around and show you all the backdrops. There is a lot of cityscapes and just industrial industry basically. So it doesn't quite look as appealing, but that's sort of half of the fun, is being able to find something. So there's a very small area to walk around here. I have the entire area to explore and to try to find some compositions. So today I'm not 100% sure how it's going to end up, but hopefully we actually find something today. All right, let's turn you around and get a little look at this. There's just very little, if anything, to actually focus on. However, there are fish jumping up and down in the water, and I just saw a huge splash. So that's very interesting. All right, let's see if we can find anything in this side. So there are 3 islands across the way. There are a fair amount of birds actually on them. So there are the 3 islands. Over here or a bit more over there actually, where I can actually see a little bit better. Let's do this way. So it was sort of raining and storming today a little bit earlier. So there are a fair amount of clouds in the sky, but right now there's a huge blue patch. So it at least gives us a good amount of light. The problem is I'm almost shooting into the light. So we're gonna have to aim down a fair amount more, but I also have to aim down in order to cut out a lot of the backdrops, because a lot of the stuff here just does not look very appealing, especially with all the industry in the background. It's never bright out, holy cow. F16 at ISO 100, and the wind is just sort of pushing the waves and kind of giving it a bit of an interesting texture. So we had to try to get that. 1/100th of a second, F16. So we're trying to get now one with the 2 little islands in the backdrop, as well as some of the smooth water in front of us. But I want a bit of a higher shutter speed, so we're gonna go up to F22. Just trying to slow down the shutter speed so we get a tiny bit of movement with the water. So we got at least one photograph kind of in the bag. I'm not 100% sure how it is. We're gonna have to look at it at least when we see it in the computer, because it absolutely does change how the photo looks. And the sunlight, like right now we're shooting directly in the sun. It's very harsh. There's a bunch of smog and smoke and stuff kind of emanating from the city, but the very cloud base is very dense over there. So I want to see if this photo kind of adds any layers to it or kind of creates a little bit more depth to the photo. 1/160th of a second, F18, ISO 100. And I'll pop the image on screen now. This one I'm not quite crazy about. Oh, we have some chickadees flying in. Interesting. Either way. All right. So there is a fair amount of water kind of covering up the trees, but it does give it an interesting glow. So I want to see if we can maybe get a photograph here. This one I don't think will have to be anything crazy. We can just do handheld. That's actually not bad. It will be a lot easier though, as I said, when I can finally get into Lightroom with them and actually investigate how I did. Because on the back of the camera, I'll show you one thing, you see it in Lightroom, it's a total other thing. All right, let's show you what we were taking a picture of. So this right here was in the composition, same as all of this foreground stuff, which makes it look ever so slightly busy. But over here, see how the reeds are even smaller, kind of sticking out with all these tree branches? I was wondering if I could maybe get on a bit of a much lower angle and actually get an interesting composition with those. But a little bit further down the road, there's even more trees that are flooded, so we have even more opportunity. So let's continue on down. There's just a little bit of greenery sticking out through the reeds and through the water here. This looks like it could be something interesting. All right. So after we finished coming all the way up the trailhead, came all the way up there. There is one tree actually kind of starting to grow, so I may take a picture of that one. I'm gonna get my tripod out right now. Might as well do this correctly. I actually do not hate this composition right now anyway. So we're gonna put this back on a 2-second timer. We have it a little bit darker in the background. I wonder if I should bracket this then. My focus is on the tree, obviously. f5.6, 1/200th of a second, ISO 1000. So this is what the back of the camera looks like as you're looking, framing up the composition of the tree. All right, guys, thanks for stopping by the channel today. Catch you again next week.